One of the things you have probably noticed watching social media is how quickly movements or groups that publicize their existence there are altered, changed, or destroyed. It's why, if you're trying to gather a group of fellow adventurers and masculine geeks, you need to understand why this phenomenon occurs and how to prevent it from happening to you. Inclusivity is a modern secular god. It demands everyone and anyone must be included into any space. You see worship of this god everywhere. See every single corporate mission statement or an organization's About Us page. The god must be appeased. So, whenever a new space appears, the initial reaction many have is to ensure all are included, except those whose values don't fit with other secular Orwellian-named gods such as tolerance, diversity, and acceptance. If those within that space defend the perimeter and enforce standards for who is included, they will be branded discriminatory, and an all-out effort to destroy them will commence. Social media makes it painless and easy for online mobs to form in strength to get whatever group they dislike dismantled and its members persecuted in real life. I'm not going to speculate as to whether this always deliberate or merely the inevitable result of worshiping inclusiveness. What matters is that the innocuous group you form centered around settlers of Catan or simply associating with like-minded men will be targeted by those who respond to any perceived exclusive group the same way a shark is drawn to blood. And if you don't keep them out, they will eventually begin driving away anyone who doesn't worship their gods. If you think I exaggerate, read this story hot off the press about a women's knitting group. Everything I just described above plays out in this tale, right down to the Hail the God of Inclusivity reference. If a women's knitting group is not safe from inclusivity worshippers, nothing you want to do as a masculine man will be off limits, just as a girl will inevitably show up to a male space and desire entry as the first female, less deserving men will want to be included into your group. They may not realize it consciously, but they can sense the excellence that exudes from superior men, and any group that celebrates excellence can't be tolerated. In the past, this might not have been as big of a dilemma. The conundrum is that having an online presence allows you greater access to the kind of men that you want, but it also will likely draw the type of men and women who are openly or covertly hostile to it. This is how all these social, cultural, and political movements purporting to challenge the status quo are undermined. Either its own members unknowingly still worship inclusiveness, or they fail to keep out those who do. If you want your group to survive and avoid trouble, it is best to keep things offline as much as possible. Keep in mind that entities like Masculine Geek itself are media content providers, not clubs or groups. Not only will this add to the group's exclusivity, since no one else will be able to even vicariously enjoy the things you do, but it will give you a low profile at a time when hysterical NPCs, non-playable characters, will turn and burn anything based on a fake news headline. Further, it will permit you to exercise greater discretion in who you allow into your group. It is counterintuitive, but in some instances, the safest bet is to revert to older times technologically when it comes to your group's activities. That doesn't mean that you can't have an online chat or play D&D via Google Hangouts. It means that once you've built up your own band of brothers, you keep your group's identity and purpose outside the public eye. It's like Fight Club. You don't talk about it. You merely do it. You don't post public tweets bragging about something awesome you did with photos included. You don't have a website with times and dates for events. It also means that you meet up in person with each other when you can and be proactive about emphasizing real life over online interactions. There are alternative ways to get word out of there to the right people. It's where you can turn to men whose authenticity you trust to vouch for someone who either approaches you or who has caught your interest. Once you've formed the group you want, the internet is a tool to allow you to communicate. But I would caution against having any kind of Facebook group, Twitter account, and the like. If you don't need to do it, then avoid it. The motto of Masculine Geeks Group should be to lay low, not attract unwanted attention, and not parade around social media proclaiming opposition to the prevailing beliefs. Those opposed to you are more powerful than you, and if you draw enough undesired notice and provoke sufficient outrage, they will dedicate their meaningless lives to ruining yours as a warning to anyone else who defy them. As Tuvia Bielski put it in the 2009 Defiance, our revenge will be to live.